It's officially been a decade since I self-published my debut novel, Shift, back in 2014, which I thought necessitated a small video, maybe just discussing my self-publishing journey to date. I have published 4 novels as of last November. So yeah, I thought I'd have just a fun video discussing my self-publishing journey, the books I've published, what I've learned, and then I thought maybe I'd share some really funny old stories that I found among my old things from when I was a child, and we can see how I really got into writing from the beginning, which was a very long time ago. My very first video that I uploaded was a book trailer for my debut novel, Shift. It's still up, you can still watch it, it's still very cringe. I published my debut novel in 2014. I was 19 years old, didn't know what I was doing. I'd never published a book before, obviously. I'd been writing for a very long time. I started off writing comic strips, that type of thing, little illustrated novels when I was a child. And then when I was maybe around 9 or 10, I started working on Microsoft Word. I really liked that you could just type in words and it was all formatted and it was really professional looking. So I started writing short stories and books and maybe 1 or 2 full-length books when I was around 10 or 11. But my proper publishing journey started when I was 19. Yeah, that is the theme of today's video. I guess we'll start off with my debut novel. So this is the very first novel I ever published, Shift. I wrote it under a different pen name. I published it on Lulu. At that stage I didn't know how to design full wraps. I didn't know anything about cover design, so I just used one of their templates and I released this very shiny, very self-published looking novel, which is basically a young adult fantasy. I illustrated the cover myself. It's very terrible. I guess since this is no longer available to purchase, I will read you the synopsis. Tagline: I am many things, but a coward isn't one of them. Very teenage angst. Eliza Levitt, barefaced rebel and social reject, thinks she's seen it all. The isolation, the backstreet confrontations, and animosity of her classmates are part of everyday life. Then one day, normality disintegrates before her eyes. After being whisked off to a parallel universe, Eliza discovers she is able to create and control one of the 6 elements at will. But this incredible power comes at a price, taking the form of the charismatic but iniquitous Shadow Runner, who seems to know a lot more about her than anyone else, including Eliza herself. After narrowly escaping death at the hands of his hitman, she realizes her fight for survival is only just beginning. Yeah, it's of its time. It's of its time. I think I did okay as a young writer who was doing things for the first time. I think I formatted it okay, despite the fact that it's white paper and it's sort of square and it's very shiny. But yeah, this was like my first foray into self-publishing. I just became obsessed and I've been doing it ever since. Obviously to a more professional extent than this. If you do come across one of these in a thrift store somewhere, I know there are a few floating around, thanks to a Goodreads giveaway I did one time. Yeah, enjoy. It's no longer available. I'm not promoting it. It's just a fun little stepping stone that I guess marks the beginning of a 10-year journey. So moving on, in 2016, so 2 years later, when I was around 21, I released The Dying of the Day. It's gone through several cover variations. This is the latest one that is still available. This is a dystopian novel, also kind of its time, although it's a vaguely prophetic one. I will read you the synopsis once again. In the year 2197, a deadly virus known as NK97 swept across Europe. Yeah, weirdly prophetic, but in Neo-London, a city that has embraced its existential crisis by prohibiting old age and encouraging suicide, alcohol is what keeps the degenerate population functioning. 18-year-old Genesis, a reformed delinquent dodging the temptation of easy relapse, is no exception, until she gets talking to former classmate Kiro, who shares her unorthodox political views and may just know the answer to her most burning question: does a better life exist elsewhere? When he offers her the chance to escape the confines of their death-obsessed society, Genesis has to make the biggest and most terrifying decision of her life. But in a city that encourages every kind of addiction, quitting society is easier said than done. Yeah, this was quite a dark novel. It dealt with basically like a post-apocalyptic neo-London megacity where this massive virus had killed off most of the population of Europe. Everyone who was left was submerged in existential depression, going through a kind of crisis. The age had been capped at 30, so once you reach 30, you basically either have to kill yourself or get euthanized by the government. Unless you worked for the government, in which case you got an extra 5 years. You got until the age of 35. Dealt with things like drug abuse, binge drinking, live fast, die young type of mentality. It's not my worst book, but it's definitely fast-paced. I think at this age, I didn't spend as long delving into the setting and the description, the fleshing out of characters. I think it was very much action-packed from the get-go, and although I think the ideas are really interesting and, as I said, weirdly prophetic, it's just a bit too fast-moving, I think, for my tastes, and there's definitely things that I would improve if I were to write it now. But that being said, I don't think I'd write a dystopian novel now. It's not really my type of thing anymore, but I'm still proud of it. It had a lot of interesting ideas in terms of the technology. Some of the companies and concepts were pretty intriguing. I really got into sci-fi and cyberpunk after reading Neuromancer, so I think some of that was sort of in the back of my head when I was writing this. And so yeah, book number 2. Then in 2021, when I was 25, I published Cold-Blooded, which you can see videos about. I do talk about it a bit more in depth further back on my channel. This I initially began to market as I think like a nautical sci-fi, but it's a very soft-core sci-fi. I think now I'd probably put it down as a nautical suspense with maybe slight sci-fi elements. There's AI, there's futuristic technology, hackers, scientists. I suppose I'll read the synopsis. After witnessing a brutal murder out on the fast ice, reticent dock worker Tal Pierce realizes his life as a law-abiding citizen has come to an end. With a faulty judicial system and the perpetrator out to get him, he's left with no choice but to board a stolen icebreaker and brave the merciless sea. Fleeing with him are expert hacker Gray and talented ship navigator Rez. But with Gray severely injured, Rez keeping dark secrets about her past, and the world staggering through the depths of an ice age, their survival is anything but certain. Trapped in a race against time, their search for sanctuary takes them from perilous scavenger territory to the unforgiving depths of uncharted wilderness. Evoking memories from a past Taliesin will have to confront, as well as old ghosts that still linger below the waves. Yeah, this was also a bit of a departure from the previous dystopian novel. I think with each new novel I was just branching out into different fields. This one dealt a lot more with rural landscapes. Before I dealt more with urban, gritty, city, megacity type environments. This is more rural, wilderness, and the juxtaposition of high tech versus the mountains and the snow. I think that's something that I still enjoy playing with to this day, are these type of environmental juxtapositions. This is one of the books I still market to this day. It was much longer than any of my previous novels, and I got to really get to know characters and I think realize that character-focused writing was what I enjoyed most and what I enjoyed reading as well. I can't really get into a book unless I feel a connection to the characters. And so that's something that I really do focus on now is, yes, there needs to be an interesting story and there needs to be some action and this and that, but really I want to get to know the characters on a deeply personal level. And I think I kind of was starting to delve into that here. We have a very flawed protagonist, sort of idealistic, who has been shaped by his upbringing and the ideas of his father, and he sort of has to carve his own way and decide what's right, and he sort of feels himself pulled in two different directions, wanting to escape into the wilderness and live off-grid in nature, and also being tied to the high-tech world and needing that technology to a certain extent. So yeah, this is sort of like an inner psychological battle. It's very character-focused. The relationships between the characters I delved into, the three main characters, and yeah, I think this sort of marked a definite development of writing intentions and maybe writing abilities. I think I've kind of moved beyond the sci-fi-esque genre for now. I have like 2 more books in that type of vein that I want to publish, but once those are done, I very much am shifting my work into more present day, coming of age, rural type, nature-based novels that I suppose my next book really marks the start of. But yeah, that's my 3rd novel, Cold Blooded. Then technically I did more or less finish a real big chonker of a book that isn't published yet, and I'm still working through, called Fallen Angels. I have spoken about it on this channel before, no spoilers. I do plan on self-publishing this one as well. Not the final cover, obviously, but this was supposed to be published next, but ended up being put on the back burner while I worked on I Do Not Sleep, which you would have seen probably most recently on my channel. It's my first psychological horror with folk horror elements. It's kind of like a half and half. There's a lot about grief and what it does to the human mind and the crazy things people think and do, and the sort of choices people can make. But there's also the paranormal / supernatural elements to the story. There's also mythology, demons come into it, spirits, vengeful spirits, ghosts. The Green Man features, themes of nature. There's a kind of haunted / demonically charged church that features in the novel that the character's drawn to and ends up featuring along with a not too friendly inhabitant. I think of all my books, this takes on the most themes that I've ever condensed into one novel. I think it's my best character work to date, and I'm very proud of it. I guess I'll read you the synopsis because I haven't done that yet. Tagline: some things are better left buried. Left reeling from the sudden death of his best friend, anxious diabetic Ollie Headley jumps at the chance to renovate a derelict family home in the country, where he plans to map out an uncertain future and grieve in peace for the young man he was unable to say goodbye to. While at first the solitude of rural England is a welcome change from the emotional chaos left behind, a chance encounter in the woods leads Ollie down a dark and twisted path into the occult, and the hunt for a fabled mushroom necessary for resurrection. But he is not alone in this pursuit, nor is unbalancing the natural order without consequence, and as the laws of nature are subverted, so is its ability to hold at bay a malevolent presence eager to return from beyond the grave. Yeah, it's folk horror because of the nature elements, because of the mythology that comes into it, but it's very much psychological grief, friendship, issues with different clashing personalities, learning to recognise flaws both of himself and of others, character growth, things that the character truly believed, coming to terms with the fact that maybe he was wrong about certain things, certain people, he didn't know everything that he thought he did. Yeah, it's sort of just a big, convoluted psychological journey on the side of dealing with the grief of losing his best friend in a hit and run. And yeah, I think, as I said before, this marks the start of a new chapter in my writing where I definitely enjoy these kinds of deeply psychological, almost spiritual, developmental stories, whether coming of age or older characters. I just like to delve deeply into flawed individuals, going on journeys, having like an existential realization, a spiritual awakening. Those are the things I like writing about most, and the things that you can probably expect to see from me in the future. I'm currently working on a coming of age which deals with similar themes, I guess, not grief to this extent, but definitely the pains of growing older and the loss of innocence. So yeah, I guess that being said, those are my my 4 novels that I've published. Technically that one doesn't count, it's no longer available. My 3 books that you can buy to this day. If you don't know where to start, I would definitely recommend my latest novel. I think it's the best representation of my writing ability and my intentions going forward with the type of genre and character development that I really, really enjoy. Most of all, if you're into more sci-fi, high-tech, AI, that type of thing, maybe Cold Blooded. But yeah, is the journey to date, a journey of 10 years. It's kind of hard to believe. Makes me feel really old, but you know, here's to another 10 years of productivity, we can hope. Yeah, in terms of what the future holds, as I said, coming of age, psychological themes being the basis of anything that I write. I have about 15 works in progress, not technically in progress, but queued up. What I'm working on right now is the coming of age, technically Fallen Angels being still on the back burner. I'm very slowly working through it. I will be releasing more information about the coming of age later on this year. I would like to release it maybe early next year, but knowing me, it could take longer than that. So with that said, I guess we can get on to the fun part of the video, which is me sharing my really old stories as a bit of bonus content. I have a whole load that I found, starting off with, well, I mean, the earliest ones I have are from 2003, so yeah, I guess I would have been 8. I have my first ever proper bound story, little ribbons there holding it together. This is called Fairy Fantasy, which is not surprising whatsoever. One day a little girl went into a fairy forest and she saw a little fairy on a rock. The fairy was very frightened by the little girl because she was so big and the fairy was so small, and she was embarrassed because she had nothing on and the girl did. The little girl tried to grab, but something stopped her. There's the naked fairy. It was the Queen Fairy. She was not happy about the little girl trying to grab the fairy. She took the fairy away, and so the little girl was left alone once more. But when she left, she smiled at the girl, as if she was her friend. The girl was amazed that the fairy smiled at her, because fairies are normally strict with people. The Queen turned at the girl and said, "Do you want to come to the fairy kingdom?" Kingdom, spelled C-I-N-G-D-I-M. The girl said, "Yes, please," and so off they went. Some shocking spelling, unless I don't even realise. When they got there, the girl was very tired, so the Queen Fairy carried her all the way. When the girl woke up, she found herself in a pretty gold room, and she soon was wearing a silk blue gown, but she banged her head. Suddenly a fairy came into the room carrying a tray of nice stuff. She was going to do the girl's hair. She led the girl to a bath. When that was finished, the fairy left the room for the girl to dry herself. When the girl was finished drying, she dressed and went into the hall, but she noticed how nice her dress was. They all began to dance. One of the bigger fairies gave the girl some wings so she could fly. It was the princess. And they danced and danced to the light of the moon. And soon the show was finished. Big old smooch. Then it was time to say goodbye to the little girl. The girl waved from far away. She saw the spooks and she dropped her present. In a moment, she was dead. Early the next morning, the fairy queen went to pick a rose with her husband. She saw that the girl was dead. Oh, the funniest thing is there's bones, like she just is bones by the morning. The fairies told her mom what happened. Her mom made a grave in the garden and she was very, very, very sad. Soon her mom was expecting babies. The end. That was wilder than I remembered. I didn't remember the part about, like, she just died, and then... that set the precedent for what I write about now, death and destruction. Right, well that was fairy fantasy, product of my 8-year-old mind. I've also got a workbook, creative writing, from grade 2. My news. I had mumps for 7 days. Tammy phoned, but I couldn't sleep over because I had mumps. I stayed in bed every day. I stayed at home. It's sore when I eat. It was sore for lots of days, but I had to accept it. I was given pain pills, and it helped. Then it got better, and I was happy. That was a riveting story right there. My holiday news. I stayed at home, but I had fun. We played on the piano a long time. We played in the garden. I went to play at Megan's house. There's a boy called Matthew that lives next door. We played with him too. Oh God. My adventure on the moon. I went in a space shuttle, and you can't walk because you kept going to the ceiling. When we got to the moon, I started to fly and jumped very high, but I had to come back down, and I had a hard time trying to get down because my dad had to pull my leg. I wanted to fly in space, but my mom said no. Please, can we go to Venus or Uranus? Please, not today. I'm going to find a place to stay, I said, and my dad and my mom came to... Sure enough, we found an old dirty place with spiders and yucky stuff. I don't want to stay here, I said. We're not going to, said Dad. The next day we went home. Yeah, you see, anyone can become a writer. George Airport. We went to George Airport and we saw a helicopter land. It looked very special. We saw a few airplanes take off and a big one land, and we saw the passengers get out. We saw a big fire station truck spray water at a big pine tree, and a branch fell down. Quite a big one, though. Then we went back to the bus. These are some of the books that I wrote after first typing stuff up on the computer. I used to find pictures from magazines and then create stories about them, like some advert, and I created a whole story. I don't know who this is, but my name is Tamia. I am 19. I see dead people. They scare me. Just a few months ago, I was getting out of bed. I walked over to the bathroom and saw an awful reflection behind me. I can see dead people. They just appear to me. I'm determined to find out what they want. It's like they want something, said Tamia as she got out of bed one morning. Why don't they give someone else an out-of-skin experience? Tamia got up and walked into the bathroom. Somebody knocked on the door. I'll be there in a minute, said Tamia. She opened the door and looked out. Just as I expected, she said. There's nobody there. Slam. There was another knock on the door. Leave me alone. Another knock. Tamia burst open the door. Oh, leave me alone. I'm no ghost myself, but I sure could beat one up, said Tamia. There was another knock. Okay, that really does it, said Tamia. She walked out into the passage, ready to kick the air at any sound or movement. There were footsteps. Whispering whooshed through Tamia and down the passage. Okay, what we have here, said Tamia. Oh, some talky ghosts. I think, if I remember correctly, talkie is like when you knock on a door and then you run away. South African lingo. The Underworld. I think I was maybe 10 when I wrote this, so do forgive the terrible writing. Shara, called Helly outside the room. I know you're in there. You can run and hide, but you know you can't escape my X-ray vision. Shara leapt onto the banister and scanned the door. Helly felt it. Shara, you know it's me, Helly of the Underworld. Shara walked towards the door. She lifted her hand to open it, but something stopped her. She turned and leapt after the window. Shara, I know you're in there, up in the door. Have it your way then, yelled Helly. Helly smashed the door down. Shara, you know you can't hide from me. Helly saw the open window. You may have escaped this time, Shara, but I'll find you. Helly walked back down the stairs and disappeared. Meanwhile, Shara was flying towards her island. She flew in through the window and disappeared. Meanwhile, Helly had returned to the Underworld, to her throne. Helly, where have you been? Said her servant. Out, said Helly. I was looking for Shara. Haven't you been trying to find her for the past 11 years? Said the servant. Yes, and I will find her. Now go, yelled Helly. Yes, Helly, said the servant timidly and left. Meanwhile, Shara, aren't you afraid that Helly might find you? Said Hush, a friend of Shara's. No, I know that she's stronger than me, Hush, but she can't fly, said Shara. Well, just be careful, she may trap you, said Hush. It's not like she's gonna just appear. Shara stopped. Helly was standing in front of her. Shara, cried Hush, it's Helly. What are you doing here? Said Shara. You, said Helly. Then she touched Shara, and they disappeared, leaving Hush screaming. What do you want me for? Said Shara. Shara, said Helly, I need you to die. Why? Said Shara. Because I have spent 11 years of my life trying to kill you, Shara, and I am, said Helly. Is that all? Said Shara. There's more, replied Helly, but it'll be of no use to you. Meanwhile, Hush had told everybody that Helly had taken Shara to the Underworld. We can't do anything, said Hush's friend. This is between two dangerous people. Even Shara can turn bad. We'll only end up dead. We can try, said Hush. Shara may be a dark queen, but we can try. Oh, come on, Shy. No, Hush, we can't, said her friend. It's too dangerous. Oh, come on, Shy, we can try. Well, if you don't, I will, said Hush. Shy still agreed, so eventually they stayed. Meanwhile, wow, Helly, I haven't been to the Underworld in 11 years, but it hasn't changed, said Shara. I know, replied Helly. You were meant to rule, Shara, but instead you chose that little island on the ocean to rule. I know, said Shara. You were born to rule the Underworld, Helly continued. You are still half bad, Shara, and I'm giving you a second chance to rule with me. Well, I won't be able to rule if you kill me, said Shara. I'll only kill you if you refuse to rule, replied Helly. Oh, spare me, said Shara sarcastically. Shara, what is it? Said Helly. What? Asked Shara. Do you choose to rule or die? Said Helly. Oh, you're so sarcastic, said Shara. Answer, yelled Helly. I choose to rule my island Catriona, said Shara. Then I'll kill you, said Helly, and she reached out, but Shara had leapt into the air and was sitting on a beam. Helly raised her hand and lightning came out of her fingers. It struck the pole and Shara gracefully landed in front of Helly. They both grabbed their swords at the same time. Shara did a graceful movement and landed on Helly's outstretched sword. Is that from a movie? Helly moved it away and made a lunge for Shara, but she was on another beam. Helly summoned her strength and leapt up onto the beam. Then Shara made a dive for Helly. Helly jumped back and fell off the beam. She landed on the floor and looked up. Come on, Shara, she shouted. You aren't scared of me, are you? Shara leapt off the beam and landed behind Helly. Helly span round and tried to reach Shara with her sword. Shara did a backflip over Helly's head and landed behind her. She lunged out. Helly ran forward, then turned and sliced the air. Again, Shara leapt up and landed on Helly's sword. Helly moved her sword sideways. Shara jumped off and landed gracefully on the floor, she always did. Helly made another lunge at Shara, but Shara ducked. Then Helly gave up. She put her sword away. Then so did Shara. Well, Shara, said Helly, now it seems like we should have a battle of the powers. Shara was first. She raised her hand to Helly's face and a bolt of lightning came towards Helly. Helly blocked it with a shield, so Shara raised both her hands and summoned a wind. It started lightly at first, but it turned into a hurricane, and Helly was blown onto the wall. She sent a lightning bolt to Shara, but Shara ducked. Everything was blowing around. Shara looked at the sky, and it was starting to rain, then thunder, then a lightning bolt went through the window. Both Helly and Shara ducked. The lightning hit the wall and burnt the carpet. Shara walked towards Helly and looked her in the eyes. Is this battle going to continue, or are you going to save your castle? Said Shara. Helly saw that Shara was holding up two walls, and she knew that Shara was going to let go. This fight will stop, said Helly. For now. Then take me back, said Shara, and she disappeared. She reappeared on her island. Shara, cried Hush, who won? Nobody yet, said Shara. I was winning, but she surrendered when I threatened to destroy her castle. You should have, said Hush. Then she would have left you alone. Even more reason for her to want to kill me. Shara, what powers does Helly have that you don't? Tons, Hush. Like what? Waste of voice. I'm going to need it. Oh yes, you have that piercing glass-breaking scream that sounds like 10 people are screaming at once. I wish I had powers. You do? No? What? Don't you remember when I found you on the street? You were lifting glass bottles with your eyes. Don't you remember? But I had forgotten all about that power. Do you think I still can? The power is never lost. It's in your blood. Do you think I could lift a human? Shara and Hush heard someone knocking on the door. Hush followed Shara down the hallway. Who do you think it is, Shara? It's Helly. Helly? Shara, come. Where? To the Underworld. Shara, do you really have the strength to fight me again? I'm not here to fight, Shara, I'm here to kill. What do you need me for? It puzzles me. Let's just say it's not me who needs you. Shara, who needs you? Never mind, hush, I don't want to scare you. But, no. So are you coming, Shara? Why would I? You will. She and Helly disappear. Shara! Helly locks Shara in a room. What an idiot Helly is. She left a metal object in the room. In brackets, Shara can control metal. A knife! Shara sends it shooting through the door. Then Shara climbed through. She took the knife and put it away. It would be vital in the next stage. Clearly inspired by X-Men. Maybe like some Underworld in there too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. That was just some of the ridiculous little stories I wrote when I was younger. That's really all I had to say for this video. It's been 10 years of writing and editing, and I've had a lot of fun, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this recap of the past decade. Feel free to check out any of my currently available books, and I will see you shortly in my next video.